Listen, when you put so much effort in the game and you have a guy in front who you don't know that maybe he could pull out from the fight, that's not something good for us. It's not my back, bro. I don't fucking care. They're gonna give him a fight before the title shot because there is no way. If I'm the world champion, I'm never gonna give him a chance to fight for the title. I will be like, listen, if that's the case, take my belt. I don't do it.
Oh, man, oh, man. This is one of those things, whenever you see it, whenever you hear it, you just, I don't know. We got to call it for what it is, man. And that is the fact that rumor has it that over in Alicante, Spain, Ilia Topuria is in a duck outfit quacking around the yard with the Nelk Boys, saying that he will not fight Arman Tsarukyan. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about this because I have my thoughts on this. I was kind of surprised by this, honestly, right? Ilia is a guy that he's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, without question. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I love his boxing. I like his energy that he brings. But we have to call this what it is. This man is ducking Arman Tsarukyan. It's very clear, but I do want to point out a few things to go along with this because this is the game that we're seeing in the UFC right now. It's kick Arman Tsarukyan while he is down. This is one of the best lightweights in the world. One of the guys that is truly in his prime right now, has a very, very dangerous style, to match up against Ilia Topuria. And I was very disappointed to hear this. Because when you are ranked as the pound for pound number one fighter in the sport right now, you are supposed to fight the next best guy, right? And I know right now it's everyone pile on Arman, man. Pile on Arman. Talk on all the shit on him. Kick him while he's down. And I get that he made a gigantic mistake at UFC 311, pulling out of that fight. And we all knew that Dana White and the UFC and the fans and everyone was not going to let it down. We already knew that. But this is just inexcusable by Ilia, man. This is flat out inexcusable. And I understand that Arman is, he's in his prime. Stylistically, it is a little bit of a troubling style for Ilia, but I don't get it. I feel like Ilia can beat him. But clearly when you're sitting out here saying, I'm not going to fight him, I'd rather vacate my belt. I mean, these are just things that I don't want to hear from a guy who's in the prime of his career, who's out there starching everybody, has this crazy aura right now. I want to see him fighting the best of the best. I don't want to see cherry-picked fights that are favorable for Ilia because that's what's left in the lightweight division right now that Islam Makhachev is gone. But at the same time, what makes no damn sense is this guy talks about wanting to fight Islam Makhachev, wanting to fight Jack Della Maddalena at 170 pounds. Like, how can you say that you want to fight those guys, but you want nothing to do with Arman? Right, so we'll talk a little bit more about this, but then we'll talk about what Arman had to say, but I want to react to Justin Gaethje because I feel like Justin Gaethje is getting a lot of hate right now. And I'm a massive Gaethje fan. I feel like we all are. He's your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. They call him the highlight for a reason. And I feel like Justin's voice should really be heard when it comes to this. And I understand that, look, Ilia and Justin, it just feels like the writing would be on the wall for Gaethje to get flatlined, right? MMA math, everything points in the direction of that would just be a horrible matchup for Justin Gaethje. But the reality is Justin Gaethje is in position for a title shot. He absolutely is. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and his thoughts about if the UFC wants him to fight Paddy Pimblett, because I actually think that Gaethje is playing the game the right way here. So we'll get to that. But first, we got to address this, man. There's going to be a lot of Ilia fans out there. And like I said at the beginning of the video, don't say I'm hating on Ilia Topuria. Don't say I'm this. Don't say I'm that. I am a massive fan of this guy. I love his fighting style. I think he's the best boxer we've ever seen. I like what he's doing in the UFC right now. His fights are super entertaining, man. Love his style. But this is blasphemy. Blasphemy. It's craziness. I'm never going to give him a chance. If that's the case, then take my belt. Right now, I understand the whole, he pulled out of a fight. Everyone's acting like Arman Tsarukyan has pulled out of 20 fights. Like, I don't understand how this whole thing, yes, it was, like I said, I knew the minute Arman, I was pissed off. The time that it happened, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We got Renato Moicano going in there to be sacrificed against Islam Makhachev, right? I mean, what else could the UFC do? Right, in hindsight, they should have thrown Dariush in there. He probably would have stood a better chance. But the bottom line is this. You can't just keep kicking Arman while he is down. I see him out there training with Khamzat Chimaev. The guy showed up as the backup for UFC 317, made weight, Come on, man. Like, we got to move forward. We can't just hold one mistake against a guy for the rest of his career. He's in his prime. He's a special fighter. Right now, I was irritated in the moment because that meant a lot for Islam's legacy if he was able to go out there and beat Arman a second time, and that was the best fight in the division at the time. It's still a great fight. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll ever see it now that Islam's going to 170, but you're never going to give Arman the chance because he pulled out of a fight, and that is the only time that we've really had any hiccups with Arman Tsarukyan in the past. I mean, just holding one thing again, it's just absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'm disappointed to hear this from Ilia, man. I'm disappointed to hear this from Ilia, and you know what this tells me as well that I think a lot of people are going to miss is the fact that Ilia Topuria, I mentioned this before, back when all these talks, when he vacated the title or was going to vacate the title, he went on the PBD podcast, right? I broke it down on my channel, and everyone's like, he's going to fight Arman, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Ilia told us he was either fighting Islam for the title or it was going to be Charles Oliveira. In a workaround way, he said, I'm preparing for those two guys. And then the host, Pat, was like, so you wouldn't fight Arman in a number one contender fight? And he was like, they wouldn't ask me to do that. So clearly, out of everyone in the lightweight division at present, because Islam I'm counting completely as a welterweight now, Ilia is being communicated to the most by the organization. It's very clear. It's very, very clear. And whenever you got the Nelk Boys coming around, the good old Nelk Boys, what a bunch of weirdos they are, right? I mean, they're cringe. They get on my last nerve, but they always happen to be around these guys, right? They get these interviews, right? I think a lot of it's through Dana White and whatever. So whenever you're hanging out with the Nelk Boys all the time, you clearly have that, like, I feel like you have that, like, intertwined connection to Dana and the UFC more so than other fighters. That's what it appears to me. And they clearly communicate with Ilia more than others because he knew what was going to happen before all the stuff was going down when he went on these different podcasts and was doing his little podcast tour. So it's very obvious to me, this is the fight that should be happening. Prime on prime, Ilia Topuria against Arman Tsarukyan. I flat out don't get it. It's a winnable fight for Ilia. Now, is it a hard stylistic matchup? Absolutely. Arman's a big guy for the weight class. He's strong. He's got outstanding wrestling, really good ground and pound, improved striking. We saw him starch Beneil Dariush. It's not an easy fight for Ilia. It's actually probably the hardest fight for him in the division. So what does this look like? Ilia's like, to me, this isn't a cakewalk here. Stylistically, this does pose some issues for me. So I would rather fight Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, which I'm not saying that those are easy fights because they're still difficult matchups. But Arman, we all know now that Islam is at 170, I have to keep saying it because people go, what about Islam, dude? Currently in the lightweight division, Arman, we can all agree, I feel, is the hardest fight for Ilia. So this comes off as you're ducking your hardest challenge in the weight class. And you're using that he pulled out of his last fight as the excuse, as the escape. It's ridiculous. This is ducking, plain and simple, man. We all got on John Jones for this against Aspinall. This is the same type of deal here. This is absolutely the same type of deal. You went up, you won your title, you beat Charles Oliveira, and Arman, he could have been the guy that got the title shot, but we all knew it wasn't going to happen, right? He's the guy that beat Charles, and I know it was a close fight. They weren't going to give Arman the shot right away. Right, but they put Charles in there. That's a very good style matchup for Ilia Topuria. That's why I picked Ilia to KO him in round number 1. Charles was just going to walk forward in the range, get knocked the hell out. But Arman's a different kind of challenge. You had your opportunity. You knocked out Charles Oliveira. Now you have the title. Let's see you defend it. You didn't stay at 45 too long. Right, and I was impressed what he was able to do to Volkanovski, what he was able to do to Max Holloway, and now Charles Oliveira. It's incredibly impressive. But to go out there and say these kinds of things and hold that all against Arman Tsarukyan like everybody's still doing and, they're going to make him fight someone else. They clearly are. Because you remember when they offered Arman the Gamrot rematch? I mean, I understand wanting to get some get back, but that's crazy of the UFC to do that. It's crazy of the UFC to do that. So this is just disappointing to hear, man, on the side of Ilia Topuria. And then this right here, Arman Tsarukyan, I like his response. Imagine calling yourself a champion, but you already are looking for a way out. You can vacate it or I'll take it. Either way, it's mine. So first of all, to be the world champion, to go out there, starch back-to-back legends in the featherweight division, go out there and starch another legend in Charles Oliveira, the most prolific finisher in UFC history, riding all this momentum, first-round knockout, you're one of the biggest stars in the organization right now, and you say that you would rather vacate the title than fight the next top guy in the weight class? That's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. There is no other way to look at this other than you are avoiding Arman Tsarukyan. You are. You just flat out are. And I can't stand this. This is driving me absolutely nuts because I said this before, guys. Like, I understand that Arman made a mistake. I get it. But he showed up as the backup, weighed in. All we can do is move forward here. This guy is in his prime. He is a good fighter. Arman is an exciting fighter. And I feel like Arman's confidence is building here because clearly Ilia is entertaining everything but fighting Arman Tsarukyan. Maybe it's Ilia playing some mind games. Maybe it's Ilia just kind of, giving Arman the runaround because it's kick Arman while it's downtime. Right? But again, like I said, the UFC communicates very clearly with Ilia Topuria. And we all know they're going to hold it against Arman. They are going to make him fight another fight, I believe, before he even sniffs another title opportunity. Because like I said before, like what Ilia said, right? You're preparing for a game plan. The organization's counting on you, and you do that at the last minute. There's a lot that goes into it. All the marketing, the promotion, reshuffling the card, all those kinds of things. I get it. But guys, we can't keep kicking a dead horse while it's down. Or whatever that expression is. I don't know if that was the right expression. Sorry, horse. But you know what I mean. So we can't just keep, burying Arman away. This guy's one of the best in the world, dude. Ilia versus Arman is the fight to make, without question. I like Arman's response here, and I feel like Arman's confidence is gaining. I see him out there training with Chimaev. Khamzat's getting ready for a big title fight at 319. Arman looks like he's in incredible shape. He's got a very unique skill set for Ilia. Very unique skill set for Ilia. But I like Arman here being like, listen, man, whether you vacate or not, I'm taking that damn title. And this, at some point, this is narratives. This is building this fight. Now, I don't think that that's what Ilia is doing. I think Ilia looks at this and goes, this ain't the most exciting fight for me. And that's what Ilia's been in. Exciting fights. Striker and Volkanovski. Striker and Max Holloway. Sort of a striker in Charles Oliveira, right? He's got good jiu-jitsu, but we know Charles likes to move forward and get after you with the Muay Thai. But this is clearly showing all these narratives that people had about Ilia. He's playing right into them. He's playing right into him, man. And that's what's so disastrous about this. And then let's talk about this before we get into the Gaethje thing, right? This is what I don't understand. You don't want to fight Arman, but you'd move up to welterweight, another weight class, and then you would fight Jack Della Maddalena. Now, I get it because JDM's a striker, right? And by the way, Ilia versus JDM, that'd be a crazy fight. That'd be a super amazing fight, right? Boxer on boxer, the power of Ilia, can it translate to welterweight? I think it can. The finesse of JDM, the footwork, the smoothness, right? Or even Ilia said that he would fight Islam at 170. So how are you willing to fight these guys, but you want nothing to do with Arman Tsarukyan? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? You're supposed to be you are on the rankings, the pound for pound number one fighter in the sport. And you are pulling these kinds of games. And this is what I say about guys like, for example, a Dricus du Plessis, right? Everyone's like, Khamzat's a horrible matchup for DDP. Horrible matchup for him. Dricus doesn't go, oh shit, man, he is a bad matchup. Who do we got? Give me Brendan Allen for the next title shot. Give me, who we got? Marvin Vettori. Yeah, let me get you, man. No, DDP says, give me Khamzat. And the UFC's like, no, we're going to give you the Strickland rematch. And DDP's like, I wanted Chimaev. And DDP says, sorry, guys, but guess what? And so he goes out there and 50-45 Strickland. Now he's got the Khamzat fight. I like champions that are willing to fight the best. Islam knew that Arman is a difficult style matchup for him. Accepted the rematch. Again, not Islam's fault that Arman pulled out. Right? Bilal, he steps right up to fight JDM, right? He was kind of like, I'm surprised JDM's getting the title shot, but hell, bring it on. And now we got this guy, Ilia, here, who seems like he's trying to pick and choose his title fights. And listen, I'm a big fan of Ilia, man, but we got to call this what this is, guys. We got to call this what this is, right? And that leads us to what's next for Ilia. And like I told you before, it sounds like the lines of communication are very clear between the UFC and Ilia. He believes his next opponent will be either Justin Gaethje or Paddy Pimblett. I think that they're going to try to push for Justin or maybe Paddy. There's not even a conversation about Arman. And I believe this 150%. I believe this, and I know people say Ilia's a liar, this and that. When it comes to the communication between the UFC and Ilia, I think they tell him a lot. And we all know that, listen, Ilia, he's very marketable. His style, what he's doing right now, they're going to probably give him Justin Gaethje. They're going to give him Gaethje because we're going to talk about Gaethje in a minute. And Gaethje is loved by the UFC, right? He took a risk at UFC 300 by fighting Max Holloway. We'll get to that in a minute. But I think it's very realistic that we get the Justin Gaethje fight next. Or Paddy Pimblett because of what he did to Michael Chandler. But again, like, Paddy Pimblett has not fought the top guys in this weight class yet. Not even one guy, right? An older, washed-up Chandler, that doesn't count, even though it was still very impressive. But, I mean, to not have any conversations about Arman, I mean, this is nuts. This is absolutely crazy. They're going to do Gaethje versus Ilia stylistically, and then you know what's going to happen? The people that are already criticizing Ilia for this, right? Oh, so he fought an older Volkanovski coming off of a KO. He fought Max Holloway, who's, got a lot of miles on him, not necessarily in his prime anymore, which I don't agree with that. He came back down to 45. Oh, it was the weight cut. So he knocked him out. Then he comes up. Oh, Charles isn't the same guy. He's past his prime. He knocked him out. Ilia's not fighting anyone in his prime. That's what people are going to keep saying. If you put Justin Gaethje out there, and then if you put Paddy out there, they're going to be like, well, Paddy didn't beat anybody good in the weight class yet to deserve a title shot. That's what's going to happen. But if Ilia goes out there, like, I don't understand why he's not motivated to be like, you know what? I'm going to go shut Arman up. I'm going to go beat him. He's the worst matchup probably for me. I mean, Gamrot's a bad matchup too, but Gamrot's not getting a title shot. So Arman's in the picture. Stylistically, this is who people think could beat me. Bring it on. I'm going to whip his ass. And then I'm going to show you. I'm going to beat a guy in his prime now. Give me an Islam fight. Give me a JDM fight. Now that makes sense. But to go out there and beat Gaethje and Pimblett, oh, yeah, man, I'm going to move up to 170. Like, this is craziness, man. This is craziness. And I have a feeling that it's going to come down to like a standoff between Ilia and the UFC at some point. It's what's going to happen. It's what's going to happen. So they got to be careful with Ilia here and how much they allow. Because this guy's already said that he doesn't want to be in the fight game for too long. And selfishly, I want him to stick around. But if they keep kind of picking and choosing these fights is what it seems like they're going to do moving forward, I mean, this is craziness. I mean, like I said, the Arman fight is winnable. Is it a hard fight? Yeah, but it's winnable. Very winnable, right? So I just don't get this. How you could say you want to fight Islam, JDM, but you want nothing to do with Arman because he pulled out of one fight. Fighters pull out of fights, man. Stuff happens. Obviously, it's not ideal. Yeah, it sucks. You go through a whole training camp. Training camps are expensive. All those different variables. I understand that. But this can't be held against Arman the rest of his career, man. Everyone's acting like no one else has pulled out of a fight ever. It's just absolutely insane to me. But let's talk about Justin Gaethje to wrap this up because I'm going to kind of side with Justin Gaethje here, guys. Listen, I understand that. Look, I don't want to see Ilia versus Gaethje. I mean, stylistically, it's a fun fight, right? Because we know that every fight Justin Gaethje is in, it's entertaining. That's just the reality. We know he's going to move forward. He's going to throw big slinging shots, man. He's going to forget the technique, go a little ooga booga. Blast those leg kicks, and Gaethje has a chance against anybody because of his power, the leg kicks, we understand that, but Gaethje's a little bit older now, right? And if you go off of the MMA math, it's like, well, Max Holloway was putting on a master class against Gaethje. Obviously, he knocked him out in the last second, but realistically, if they don't do the point down and the slug out at the end, he gets through that fight without getting knocked out. But again, he still got knocked out by Holloway. Right? And we saw what Max did to him. And we saw what Ilia did to Max. And I understand Max looks like a different beast at 155. I get that. But stylistically, I said this before the minute people started talking about this. Ilia is a nightmare for Justin Gaethje. A nightmare for him. He hits just as hard, if not harder than Justin Gaethje. The difference is the technique and the defense is way better on the side of Ilia. Way better. Ilia would flatline Gaethje. He would. That's the reality. It's absolutely the reality. Now, could Ilia stands very bladed? Could Gaethje bang him up with some leg kicks, land an uppercut or something? I mean, Gaethje's game against anybody. You don't go out of it, and then that's the interesting thing is you never go into a Gaethje fight without getting rocked at some point. Gaethje's going to land. So it still has that style, the fun style clash to it. But I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Gaethje get flatlined at this point. But I understand what Justin's saying, man. He's like, listen, the UFC's using me if they book the Paddy Pimblett fight. If they want me to take that route, then I don't believe they need me anymore. The champion was calling me to fight. They vacated the belt and gave the fight to a guy who was 2-2. So if their algorithm and math tell them to use me until I get beat, then I have to reevaluate what I'm doing here. I 100% understand Justin, man. Listen, you cannot like Justin Gaethje getting a title shot. And I understand that because it should be Arman. 100%. The Pimblett fight's got all the build-up. Well, I get all that. But you have to understand what Justin Gaethje is saying, and it's spot on. Put yourself in Justin Gaethje's shoes. You're an OG. You've been around for a while. You fought super dangerous fights. Hooker pulled out, so you took on Rafael Fiziev again, gave him another opportunity. And by the way, Gaethje has won 3 out of his last 4. That's like very quiet. It goes under the radar. Beat Fiziev. Knocked out Dustin Poirier, lost to Max Holloway, and again, he got eye poked a couple times, got the nose busted in the first round. Either way, Max clearly dominantly won the fight, But the point is, like, there were some circumstances there, and Gaethje didn't have to take that fight. He was like, they were begging me to take it. So he risked it. And he could have just sat on the sideline and probably gotten a title shot against Islam if he would have waited. Right? So some interesting circumstances for Justin. Then he's supposed to fight Hooker. Fiziev steps in. He goes out there and beats Fiziev again, which we just saw Fiziev go out there and beat Bahamondes. So these are some good wins that Justin has been stacking up. And at this point in his career, he's like, look, give me another title shot or I'm done. I don't want to fight a dangerous up-and-comer for a chance to make a name off me. I'm in the conversation for a title shot. You gave Charles the shot, who was 2-2, is what he's saying here, right? So Gaethje's got a point, man. He absolutely has a point. He wants to fight Ilia for the belt. He's not going to beat Ilia. Wants to defend it against Holloway and then retire holding the BMF and lightweight titles. Now, again, fairy tale endings, as we've all said before, they don't really happen in MMA. That's not the reality. But the point is, I completely understand where Justin is coming from. I completely get it. He's like, why am I going to fight in a number one contender fight? You just handed Charles a title shot because it was a good matchup for Ilia, which it was. We all knew that. Still a dangerous fight, but it was a good style matchup for him. Ilia versus Gaethje is a fun fight. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to see Gaethje get flatlined. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Ilia needs to fight Arman Tsarukyan next. It's not going to happen. They're going to do Gaethje. They're going to do Pimblett. They're going to probably do both of those back-to-back, and Arman's just going to get left out. They're going to hope Arman loses. That's why they tried to give him the Gamrot rematch, because Gamrot has a style that can somewhat match Arman. So it's clear what the UFC is doing here. They're going to hold Arman pulling out against him. Ilia's going to hold Arman pulling out against him, and Ilia has made it clear that he will be difficult if the UFC basically tries to get him to fight Arman Tsarukyan. What a crazy thing. What a crazy thing. Having champions pick and choose fights, man. I don't like this from Ilia at all, man. I don't like this from Ilia. I completely understand Justin Gaethje here. I get it. I still don't want to see him get knocked out, but he has put himself in position to get a title shot. So if you're just giving out Pimblett title shots, Gaethje deserves it more. The only other guy outside of Gaethje that should be above him for it is Arman Tsarukyan, but we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it. It's clear what Ilia's plan is. Beat Gaethje, beat Pimblett, move up to welterweight, call it a career. That's what it sounds like to me, at least. So this is craziness. It's open ducking by Ilia Topuria, and I understand where Justin Gaethje is coming from, even though Arman should get the shot, and I don't want to see Gaethje get brutally KO'd by Ilia Topuria.